The afternoon light filters through the leaded glass windows of my childhood home, casting honey-colored patterns across the hardwood floor. I hadn't planned on stopping by today. A canceled meeting in Spokane left an unexpected gap in my schedule, a rare occurrence for a financial analyst with color-coded calendar blocks. I eased the front door closed behind me, smiling at the familiar creak of the second hinge. Dad keeps promising to fix it, just like he's promised for the last decade. My footsteps fall softly on the worn runner carpet as I head toward the kitchen, eager to surprise Mom with the artisan bread I picked up from her favorite bakery. Then I hear it. My name. Once the appraisal clears, we can list it. Brooklyn's payments were gifts. My mother's voice floats from the kitchen, matter of fact as if discussing the weather. I freeze mid-step, the paper bag crinkling softly in my suddenly tight grip. Dad chuckles, that familiar sound now holding an unfamiliar edge. She doesn't even keep receipts. My sister's voice follows, hesitant. But what if she finds out? I stand rooted in place, my pulse steady despite the earthquake rumbling through my core. Funny how the body stays calm when the mind shatters. My financial analyst brain clicks into gear, cataloging facts while my heart struggles to catch up. My fingers find the doorframe, gripping until my knuckles whiten. The wood grain presses into my palm. This house I know by heart. This house I've been paying for. 7 years. $92,000. All temporary help until they got back on their feet. Last week's payment of $1,700 for the mortgage still shows as pending in my banking app. The notification had pinged while I stood in line for coffee, and I'd transferred the money without a second thought, just like clockwork, just like family does. The clarity hits like winter sunlight after months of fog. Every suspicious moment crystallizes the exchanged glances when I asked about refinancing options, the real estate pamphlets I spotted tucked beneath magazines on the coffee table, the oddly specific questions about property values that I'd brushed off as casual conversation. Growing up in this tidy 3-bedroom craftsman meant being the family workhorse. At 15, Dad handed me power tools while calling it character building. I replaced roof shingles while Lacey stayed inside, praised for her delicate nature. Mom's favorite phrase echoes through my memory: family helps family. Somehow that help always flowed in one direction from me to them. I built my entire adult identity around being reliable. My apartment in Seattle holds a desk with meticulously organized spreadsheets tracking every expense. I skip vacations to make those temporary payments possible. I wear last year's winter coat while they installed new kitchen countertops. I never questioned, because I wanted their approval. Needed to be the good daughter, the responsible one. The floorboard beneath my foot creaks, betraying my presence. Mom appears in the hallway, her face flushing with surprise. "Brooklyn, we weren't expecting you." Her hands flutter nervously at her necklace, the one I bought her for Christmas. "Oh, we were just discussing some paperwork." The words rise in my throat, unfamiliar in their directness. "No, you were discussing selling the house I've been paying for." She blinks rapidly, mouth opening and closing. Dad appears behind her, his tall frame filling the doorway. "Don't be dramatic," he says with a dismissive wave. "Your help was a gift." The word gift lands like a slap. Mom recovers quickly, pivoting to familiar territory. "After all we've done raising you," she begins, voice dripping with practiced guilt. Lacey hovers behind them, refusing to meet my eyes, shrinking into herself just like she did when we were children, and I took the blame for broken dishes. For a moment, doubt creeps in. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe there's an explanation that doesn't mean my entire family has been using me as their personal ATM while planning to cut me out. Then I remember the exact words. Brooklyn's payments were gifts. My spine straightens as my financial analyst mind shifts into high gear, already calculating how to document every dollar I've contributed. My breathing steadies as my thoughts clarify. "I'll be in touch," I say quietly, turning toward the door. "Brooklyn, wait," Mom calls, genuine panic in her voice now. She's never seen me walk away from a family confrontation before, but I keep walking, my footsteps measured and calm. I place the forgotten bakery bag on the entry table, a final offering to a shrine that never deserved my devotion. Outside, the November air bites at my cheeks as I slide behind the wheel of my sensible sedan with its high mileage and postponed maintenance. The engine hums to life, and I pull away from the curb, glancing one last time at the craftsman porch where I spent summers sanding and staining while Lacey lounged with lemonade. The drive back to Seattle stretches before me, but for the first time in years, the road ahead feels like freedom rather than escape. The following day, the Seattle rain pelts my apartment windows as I spread financial records across my desk. Each statement forms another piece in a puzzle I never wanted to complete. My laptop screen glows with the banking portal showing 7 years of transfers to my parents regular as clockwork, growing larger with each promotion I earned. I click through to an email folder labeled Family Finances and freeze. A message from Dad to Mom appears, accidentally copied to my work address 3 months ago. My eyes lock onto words that confirm my worst suspicions. Once we sell, we can finally stop relying on Brooklyn's checks. My fingers tremble as I open a mortgage statement I requested last week. The principal balance hasn't decreased despite my $92,000 in contributions. Every payment vanished into interest or their pockets, never reducing the loan. The property tax documents arrive next, county letterhead making the betrayal official. Only their names appear as owners. Not mine, never mine. Despite the new roof I financed and installed, despite the plumbing repairs that drained my vacation fund, despite the electrical work I paid for when the inspector found code violations, I grab my calculator, hands steady now, as I tally the damage. Direct transfers. $92,000 over 7 years. Unpaid labor for home improvements. Conservatively $38,000. The numbers glow back at me, cold and undeniable. The pattern emerges with painful clarity. Each financial request coincided perfectly with my salary increases. The ask for roof money came 2 days after I mentioned my promotion. The plumbing emergency happened the week my bonus cleared. "You're the smart one, Brooklyn. You understand money," Mom would say, voice warm with practiced flattery before the request. "We're so proud of how responsible you are." The guilt always followed. Family helps family. Remember how we sacrificed for your education? I never noticed how the obligation only flowed one way. My phone vibrates against the desk. A text from Mom at 11:42 p.m. "We changed the locks. You don't live here anymore. Let's see how independent you really are." The message should hurt. Instead, it washes over me with strange relief confirmation. I'm not imagining their betrayal. I respond simply, "Message received. Thank you for the clarity." No tears come. No emotional breakdown. Just a clean, surgical kind of clarity. They didn't just change a lock, I think, shutting my laptop. They shut the last door that tied me to them. My mother orchestrated everything. Each guilt trip, each request wrapped in compliments. Each subtle comparison to my delicate sister who needed protection, while I needed to toughen up. The primary betrayer. Designing the perfect system to extract maximum value from her responsible daughter. Dad executed her plans, managing the money, always discussing investments, but never providing statements. His easy charm disarming my questions before they formed. The supportive player making the scheme work. Morning light finds me still at my desk when my phone pings with a notification. A real estate listing appears on my screen. My parents' house. Our house. My investment. Listed $40,000 above market value with professional photos that must have been taken weeks ago. They're accelerating now that I know the truth. Without legal intervention, I'll lose everything I've put into that house. I slide open the bottom desk drawer, the one that sticks unless you lift it just right. Inside sits a green folder labeled Family Contributions. Each receipt for materials. Every bank transfer confirmation. Text messages requesting funds. All meticulously saved by the financial analyst who never quite trusted the arrangements despite desperately wanting to. My coworker Janet texts, "Still on for lunch? Bringing Richard? He's that property attorney I mentioned." "Perfect timing," I respond. "Reservation at 12:30. I forward Mom's lock-changing text to Janet's lawyer friend with a simple question. "Does this help establish intent?" His response comes minutes later. "Absolutely. Bring everything you have, documenting your contributions." My browser fills with tabs on property law, constructive trusts, and unjust enrichment. Terms I never thought I'd need for my own family. My friend Morgan calls, voice concerned. "You okay? You never miss our Sunday coffee." When I explain, she doesn't hesitate. "My guest room is yours if you need it, as long as it takes." The bank manager confirms they can provide certified records of all transfers. My stomach tightens when the attorney quotes his retainer. $5,000. Almost my entire emergency fund. We have a strong case for equitable ownership. he explains after reviewing my documents. This pattern of financial manipulation is unfortunately common. I've seen it before. His paralegal files initial paperwork that afternoon, a temporary injunction preventing the sale before resolution. As I sign the retainer check, the attorney asks if I'm okay. I'm fine. I answer, surprised to find it's mostly true. I just learned my family relationship was purely transactional. Now I'm handling it like a transaction. The check leaves my hand, officially converting my safety net into a legal battle. But for the first time in 7 years, my money is finally working for me instead of them. 3 days later, the cease and desist letter arrives on expensive cream-colored stationery, the law firm's embossed letterhead gleaming under my kitchen lights. I run my finger over the raised text, appreciating the irony. My parents never spared expenses when it came to protecting themselves. You are hereby instructed to cease all defamatory communications regarding the property at 1742 Elmwood Drive. It reads, the formal language a stark contrast to the tearful voicemails my mother has been leaving. Legal threats the ultimate admission that my silence terrifies them more than my words ever could. My phone buzzes. Uncle Robert, this time. The fifth family, intervention call today. Brooklyn, honey, how could you do this to your own parents? His voice carries that familiar disappointed tone, as if I'm still 8 years old with scraped knees from climbing too high. After everything they've done for you, I close my eyes, focusing on my breathing. Everything they've done for me, or everything I've done for them? This isn't about money. You're right, it isn't. The calm in my voice surprises even me. It's about recognition. It's about truth. He sighs heavily. Your mother is devastated. Your father can't sleep. I think about the mortgage statements stacked neatly in my filing cabinet. 7 years of payments. $92,000. I'm sure they'll find comfort in their new kitchen countertops, the ones I paid for. After he hangs up, I open Instagram against my better judgment. Lacey's latest post shows her sitting on our parents' porch swing, looking forlorn. Family is everything, reads the caption. Heartbroken that someone would choose money over love. 27 sympathetic comments from people who've never seen the transfer receipts. The doorbell interrupts my scrolling. It's a courier with documents from my parents' attorney. According to the inventory list, they've begun selling furniture from the house, including the antique desk my grandfather left specifically to me. I place the papers on my kitchen table beside the spreadsheets I've been working on for weeks. Column after column of dates, amounts, email screenshots, text message exchanges. My entire financial history with my parents, meticulously documented with the same precision I bring to my corporate analyses. My boss Grace calls while I'm inputting the latest data point. Brooklyn, take whatever time you need, she says after I explain the latest development. The Johnson portfolio can wait. I appreciate that, but work keeps me grounded, I tell her, grateful for her understanding, though I might need flexibility for court appearances. You've got it, and the company attorney asked me to give you this number. Property law specialist who took his case pro bono last year said she's brilliant. I jot down the number, a wave of gratitude tempering my anger. While my blood relatives marshal their forces against me, my chosen family builds scaffolding around my fragile determination. Later that evening, I'm picking up documents from Martin, my friend who works in property assessment, when I literally bump into Lacey at the entrance to the coffee shop. Her eyes widen with recognition before narrowing with hostility. Well, if it isn't the money-hungry daughter, she says, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. I step back, creating space between us. Lacey, you're tearing this family apart over money. Her voice cracks, genuine emotion beneath the performance. How could you do this to Mom and Dad? They gave you everything. For a moment, I see the little sister who followed me everywhere, who braided my hair with clumsy fingers, who cried when I left for college. Then I remember the kitchen conversation, her hesitant question. But what if she finds out? This isn't about money, I reply, my voice steady, despite the tremble in my hands. It's about recognizing my contribution. Something shifts in her expression. Guilt, maybe. They're our parents, Brooklyn. They raised us. And I've been raising them financially for 7 years. I meet her gaze directly. How long have you known what they were doing? She glances away, confirmation enough. That's what I thought. I move past her toward the door, then pause. They're selling Grandpa's desk, by the way. The one he wanted me to have. Walking to my car, I dial the number my friend gave me. Attorney Richard's office smells of lemon polish and old books. Unlike the other lawyers I consulted, he doesn't take notes on a laptop. Instead, he spreads my documents across her massive oak desk, studying them with the intensity of someone reading ancient maps. "You've documented everything," he says, impressed. "Bank transfers, text confirmations, email exchanges. I'm a financial analyst. Record keeping is second nature." He nods, tapping a particularly damning email exchange. "And they explicitly acknowledged these payments were toward the mortgage? Every month for 7 years." He sits back, studying me. "You have a strong case for equitable ownership. Your consistent financial contributions, their explicit acknowledgement of the purpose, your sweat equity in home improvements." He taps her pen against the desk. "But I need you to understand something crucial." I lean forward. "Don't confront them. Don't warn them. Paper is your weapon." His voice is steel, wrapped in velvet. "We file the injunction stopping the sale. We document the harassment. We prepare for court. Let them make the first aggressive move." Common in Alise. For the first time since discovering their betrayal, I feel the ground solidify beneath me. "I understand. You have leverage they don't expect," he continues. "They see you as the dutiful daughter who'll eventually cave to family pressure. They don't see the financial expert perfectly equipped to dismantle their manipulation." Walking out of his office, I realize with startling clarity, my parents hadn't just taken advantage of my generosity, they had committed financial manipulation, and I had the records to prove it. When I return home, a package waits by my door. Inside, a family photo with my face cut out, the jagged edges speaking volumes about my mother's state of mind. The sight punches through my analytical armor, and I sink to the floor, finally allowing myself to grieve the family relationship that never truly existed. My therapist's words from our emergency session echo in my mind. "This isn't revenge, Brooklyn. It's justice." Night after night, I build my case. Digital archives of every transaction, financial impact calculations, voice memos detailing verbal promises, a timeline revealing the escalating pattern of demands. My phone pings with messages I don't answer. My mother's pleas, my father's threats, Lacey's guilt trips. I forward each one to Eleanor without response, building my paper fortress while they hammer at gates that no longer exist. "Let them make the first aggressive move," my attorney had advised. So I wait, wrapped in strategic silence, preparing formal responses to their increasingly desperate actions. 1 week after forwarding a particularly nasty text from my father to Richard, I received a formal notice from their lawyer. They're requesting mediation. I allow myself a small, wry smile. Finally, they respect boundaries through legal counsel. Opening my laptop, I click on the folder containing emails I've been saving. The ones where my parents discuss me as their free money source. The ones where they plan the sale while calculating exactly how much more they can extract from me before cutting ties. My phone rings. It's Richard. "We've been assigned to Judge Winters," he says, excitement bleeding through his professional tone. She specializes in family financial abuse cases. For the first time in weeks, I feel the corners of my mouth lift in something resembling hope. The law office smells like lemon polish and expensive cologne the next day. My attorney, Richard Wallace, spreads documents across his mahogany desk while I review our filing one last time. A 35% equitable interest. I say, tapping the highlighted section, based on documented contributions of $92,000 over 7 years. Richard nods, his silver hair catching the morning light. The motion to prevent property sale during litigation is ready. Once filed, they can't sell without court approval. I slide the financial forensic analysis forward, my masterpiece. 7 years of bank transfers, text messages about payments, and even photos of me repairing the roof. Each piece of evidence meticulously organized into a pattern of intentional manipulation. "This is impressive work," Richard says, genuine admiration in his voice. "Most clients bring me shoebox receipts. You've built a case that would make a forensic accountant proud." "I am a financial analyst," I remind him with a small smile. "Numbers don't lie, even when people do." The deposition requests feel like declarations of war. Mom, Dad, Lacey, each name typed in clean black letters, each requiring specific documents I know they never expected me to demand. My hand hovers over the signature line. 7 years of being the family ATM flash through my mind, Christmas presents I couldn't afford, vacations I never took, the winter coat I mended instead of replaced. All while they planned to sell the house from under me. I sign my name with steady fingers. Let's file today, I say. 3 days later, Richard's call wakes me at 6 a.m. I sit upright immediately, sleep evaporating. They've counterfiled, he says without preamble. They're claiming all transfers were gifts between family members. My stomach tightens, but my voice remains level. We expected that. Their lawyer found a technical error in our initial filing. The property parcel number has a digit transposed. The implications sink in. So, the prevention order. Temporarily suspended while we correct the paperwork, Richard finishes. And Brooklyn. They're accelerating the sale. The house goes on market next Tuesday. Cold washes through me, but panic won't help. I breathe deeply, counting to 5, as doctor. Martinez taught me, we'll file an emergency correction today, I say, already swinging my legs off the bed, and request an expedited hearing based on imminent sale threat. It might not be enough, Richard warns. Courts move slowly. Their lawyer is good Margaret Winters. We'll make it enough, I answer, calculation replacing fear. I'll be at your office in an hour. We'll work through the night if necessary. 3 days later, the elevator mirror at Richard's office shows dark circles under my eyes. I've slept 4 hours in 2 days, preparing for the hearing. The thought of standing in front of a judge, facing my family, sends anxiety crawling up my spine. I practice doctor. Martinez's grounding technique. 5 things I can see, 4 I can touch, 3 I can hear. The courthouse looms ahead, all marble and judgment. Ready? Richard asks as we climb the steps. No, I admit, but I'm going anyway. Inside, Mom, Dad, and Lacey sit huddled with Margaret Winters, a sharp-featured woman in a tailored suit. Mom's gaze lands on me, her expression shifting from surprise to calculated sympathy. The courtroom gallery holds familiar faces, family, friends they've invited to witness my humiliation. I straighten my shoulders and slide into professional mode. This is just another financial presentation. Numbers, facts, evidence. My training to analyze data without emotion becomes my superpower. Judge Reynolds enters, a stern woman with practical shoes and shrewd eyes. The proceedings begin with dry legal formalities until Margaret Winters takes center stage. Your Honor, this is simply a family dispute, she says smoothly. The plaintiff contributed to household expenses as any family member might, with no expectation of property interest. Richard counters, we have evidence of a pattern showing the Harris family solicited specific funds for mortgage payments while secretly planning property liquidation. A murmur ripples through the gallery as he mentions our additional filing. Further, we discovered yesterday that the defendants have been removing valuable household items ahead of this hearing. Judge Reynolds's eyebrows rise. Is this true, Mrs. Winters? Margaret looks discomforted for the first time. My clients were simply organizing personal possessions. Then they won't object to a court-ordered inventory, Judge Reynolds states. Dad's face flushes crimson. He whispers furiously to Margaret, who raises a hand to silence him. Their credibility crumbles visibly as the judge makes notes. The friends they brought for support shift uncomfortably, as Richard methodically presents our evidence text messages begging for just enough to cover the mortgage this month. Bank transfers labeled house payment, photos of me installing new windows while my sister sunbathed nearby. Your Honor, Richard concludes, we request an immediate injunction against property sale and expedited mediation. Mom attempts to interject, her voice taking on the trembling quality that always made me back down before. Brooklyn has always been such a sensitive girl. Mrs. Harris, Judge Reynolds interrupts, this court deals in financial evidence, not character assessments. I feel gazes shifting toward me, people who have known me since childhood seeing the situation with fresh eyes. My former high school math teacher nods slightly from the back row, something like respect in her expression. I'm ordering mediation before this proceeds further, Judge Reynolds announces, and the temporary restraining order on property sale is reinstated pending resolution. 2 days later, we gather in the mediation room. I sit beside Richard, my posture perfect, my breathing controlled. My support network surrounds me. Emily from accounting sits behind me, ready to validate my documentation methods. My therapist's voice echoes in my mind, giving me permission to protect myself. Mom and Dad enter, red-faced and defensive. Lacey trails behind, avoiding my gaze. They look smaller somehow, less intimidating than the giants who controlled my life for decades. Richard slides a binder across the table. We're seeking a 35% equitable interest based on verifiable contributions. Dad's bluster begins immediately. This is ridiculous. We're her parents. The court doesn't weigh love, Mr. Harris. Margaret responds coldly, reviewing our evidence with growing concern. It weighs evidence. Mom's tears start on cue. The mediator, a practical woman with decades of experience, merely hands her a tissue without pausing her review of documents. You kept receipts? Lacey whispers, meeting my eyes for the first time. You actually kept receipts. I nod once, feeling nothing but certainty. I kept everything. In the silence that follows, I see what they finally understand. The responsible daughter they counted on to solve their problems has become the responsible woman they can't manipulate anymore. On the final confrontation day, the courthouse lobby bustles with whispers as I enter, my attorney Rickard at my side. 7 carefully labeled manila folders rest in my arms, each one a year of my life meticulously documented. They're offering $45,000, he says, checking his phone. Final offer. I almost laugh. After contributing $92,000 plus thousands in improvements, they think $45,000 will make me walk away. The predictability of their manipulation no longer wounds me. Let them know we're proceeding as planned, I reply, straightening my charcoal blazer. Richard nods, his silver-framed glasses catching the morning light. Fair warning, they've brought reinforcements. He's right. As we round the corner, I spot Mom and Dad huddled with Mrs. Peterson, our longtime family friend whose church potluck casseroles marked every milestone of my childhood. Her presence is no accident. Mrs. Peterson spots me and approaches, arms outstretched. Brooklyn, honey, this has all gone too far. Your parents are heartbroken. Are they? I keep my voice neutral, despite the flames licking at my ribcage. They're worried about losing everything, she continues, her eyes watery. They never meant. Tell them I received their settlement offer, I interrupt gently, and we'll see them inside. Her face falls. They said the house needs a new foundation. $20,000 in repairs at least. They can't afford to give you more. Another lie. The foundation inspection passed just 18 months ago. I paid for it myself. My phone buzzes with Lacey's name on the screen. The third call today. I silence it without answering. Outside courtroom C, Uncle Robert materializes from a bench, his presence unexpected. He blocks my path, his bulk intimidating in the narrow hallway. You need to drop this, he mutters. Your mother is in tears every night. Is that what you want? To destroy your family over money? The irony almost makes me smile. Interesting perspective, Robert. Your father built that house with his bare hands. His voice rises. And now you're what? Taking it from them? I'm claiming what's legally mine, I respond. The equity I paid for. They'll lose everything, he sputters. You know that, right? They're selling a house with no mortgage that they haven't made payments on for 7 years, I reply. They'll be fine. His face reddens. You always thought you were better than everyone. Too good for Spokane. Too smart for your own family. Richard steps between us. Mr. Harris, this conversation is over. Save it for the courtroom. As we walk away, my phone buzzes again. This time I answer. Brooklyn, Lacey's voice catches. Please stop this. Mom and Dad will lose everything if you don't compromise. The familiar guilt rises, but no longer controls me. They have options, Lacey. They always have. They're talking about embarrassing family stuff, she whispers. Things from when you were a teenager. They'll tell everyone if you make them. The threat lands cold, my rebellious phase sneaking out, the older boyfriend, the night Dad found us ancient history weaponized. Let them. I answer, surprising myself with my steadiness. I have nothing to hide. We enter the courtroom, its wooden pews already filling with extended family. This was never meant to be a public spectacle, but Mom and Dad have ensured an audience. 10 minutes before the hearing, Richard tenses beside me. New development. They've found someone claiming you verbally agreed the money was a gift. Who? Thomas Wilson. My college boyfriend. The one who borrowed money from me for tuition and never paid it back. The connection clicks immediately. Dad's fishing buddy is Thomas's uncle. Can they do that? My stomach tightens. They can try, he says. But we prepared for this. Remember the receipts from the bathroom renovation? My heart sinks. The contractor went out of business. I don't have those receipts. For the first time, doubt creeps in. What if 7 years of documentation isn't enough? Focus on what we do have, Richard says firmly. The text messages establish intent for repayment. That's our strongest evidence. Judge enters, her reputation for expertise in family financial disputes preceding her. Her steel-gray hair frames sharp eyes that miss nothing. The testimony begins, my parents presenting themselves as generous providers who simply helped their adult daughter buy into the family home. Their narrative unravels under questioning. So, Mrs. Harris, Judge Winters says, you're saying there was never a discussion about selling the house? Never, Mom insists. This was Brooklyn's home too. Rickard stands. Permission to play recording Exhibit C. Mom's voice fills the courtroom. Once we sell, you and your father can finally take that Alaska cruise. The color drains from Mom's face. Dad shifts in his seat. Mr. Harris, you stated you never promised to repay these funds. Judge Winters leans forward. Is that correct? That's right, Dad says firmly. These were gifts between family members. Richard retrieves hid tablet. Your Honor, I'd like to present Exhibit F, a text message from Robert Harris to Brooklyn, dated June 14 last year. On the screen, Dad's message appears. Thanks for covering the property taxes again. We'll square up when the market improves. Dad stammers. That was just a figure of speech. Judge Winters' eyebrow rises slightly. Then comes the moment I've prepared for since that November day in the hallway. Richard wheels in a cart containing 7 binders, each labeled by year. Your Honor, we'd like to present Brooklyn Harris's complete financial contribution record. For the next 40 minutes, the courtroom sits in stunned silence as Richard methodically maps out every dollar mortgage payments, property taxes, renovations, and repairs all meticulously organized with bank statements, receipts, and communications. Miss Harris began these payments at age 22, Marianne explains, increasing her contributions proportionally as her salary grew. The timeline displayed shows payments jumping from $700 monthly to $1,700 as I progressed from entry-level analyst to senior position. And finally, Richard says, I'd like to present the email that prompted this legal action. The projector displays Mom's message to the real estate agent. Brooklyn's payments were gifts. She has no legal claim. Beside it appears another message, sent just 3 days later. We changed the locks. You don't live here anymore. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Uncle Robert stares at his shoes. Aunt Patricia's mouth hangs open. The carefully constructed narrative of ungrateful daughter shatters completely. Lacey takes the stand as their final witness, her testimony crumbling under cross-examination. Did you know your parents were planning to sell the house? Richard asks. Lacey glances at our parents, then down at her hands. Yes. Did you know they intended to exclude Brooklyn from the proceeds? A long pause. Yes. Even though she had paid the mortgage for 7 years? She could afford it, Lacey whispers. I couldn't. The financial forensic expert testifies next, calculating my total contribution at $117,300 when including improvements and interest. Based on current market value, he concludes, that represents approximately 35% equity stake in the property. Judge Winters doesn't need long to deliberate. The court finds that Brooklyn Harris has established an equitable interest of 35% in the property at 1472 Ridgeline Avenue. She orders the house sold, with proceeds divided accordingly under court supervision. My parents' attorney immediately requests an appeal. Appeal denied, Judge Winters states firmly. The evidence is overwhelming. Ope. I sit motionless as the judgment sinks in. No elation, no vindictive satisfaction, just the weight lifting from shoulders that have carried it too long. Mom attempts to approach as court adjourns. Brooklyn, we need to talk about this as a family. I gather my belongings without meeting her eyes. my silence more powerful than any words. Outside, autumn sunlight bathes the courthouse steps. I thank Richard, my voice steady. What happens now? He asks. They sell. I get my share. We move on. The reality materializes in numbers. House value $740,000. My portion $259,000 after legal fees. Enough for a down payment in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood, a place truly mine, built on foundations I can trust. As I walk to my car, I catch a glimpse of my family huddled together. Mom, Dad, and Lacey, already discussing their move to a rental duplex on the east side. Their universe has shifted, the gravitational center no longer my reliability. I don't look back as I drive away. The road ahead belongs entirely to me now. 3 months later, the brass key sits heavy in my palm as I stand in the doorway of my new townhouse. Sunlight streams through windows I selected, warming hardwood floors I chose without anyone's input or criticism. The settlement money made this possible, not all of it invested here, of course. I smile at the memory of my financial advisor's approving nod. I wanted my money to work for me, not sit in drywall. I told her, as we finalized the mortgage on half the property's value. The other half I paid outright, creating a perfect balance between investment and security. The locksmith clears his throat behind me. Ready for the new deadbolts, Miss Harris? I hand him the set of pristine locks I purchased yesterday. Yes, all of them, please. As he works, I wander through rooms filled with only what brings me peace. No cluttered shelves of guilt-inducing family photos. No furniture selected to please anyone but myself. The walls, painted in soft sage rather than the navy my mother would have insisted upon, reflect my values, not theirs. Every corner of this space exists without their influence or hidden agendas. For the first time in my life, my finances remain wholly my own. No support payments disguised as family obligation. No quiet transfers at midnight when someone's card was declined. The weight of their expectations has lifted, leaving room to breathe. When the locksmith finishes, he hands me 3 gleaming keys, all set. I run my thumb over the ridges, remembering that terrible day 7 months ago, when my key no longer worked in my parents' door. They had changed the locks while I was gathering documentation for my lawyer. The ultimate rejection. Now I change locks by choice, not necessity. Later, I place the old brass deadbolt from my parents' house, the one I removed before their locksmith arrived, into a small wooden box. The last relic of the life they shut me out of. I close the lid firmly and slide it onto a high shelf in my closet. The email from Lacey arrives that evening, its subject line dripping with familiar manipulation. Family healing needed. I open it, curious rather than anxious. Her message unfolds exactly as I predicted. Half-hearted apology, vague references to misunderstandings, subtle blame-shifting. The same tactics that once would have sent me spiraling into guilt, now read like a predictable script. I delete it without reply and block the address. No anger surges through me, just calm certainty. The clean break remains intact. In my journal that night I write, I realized my worth isn't measured by what I can provide to others. The words flow easily after months of therapy. My fatal flaw over responsibility and hunger for approval named and tamed. Reliability can exist without exploitation. Boundaries protect rather than punish. The next morning, I meet with my attorney to update my will, leaving nothing to my former family. We establish confidential address protection for peace of mind. Then I sign the paperwork creating a legal aid fund for family financial abuse victims, transforming my pain into community support. The first recipient meets with you next week, my attorney says. A young man whose parents drained his college fund. I nod. I'll share my story, anonymously. That weekend, friends who supported me through the darkest days fill my new home with laughter. We exchange meaningful gifts, not expensive, but thoughtfully chosen. Their genuine support contrasts sharply with the exploitation I once mistook for family love. When they leave, I stand at my window watching the Seattle sunset paint the sky pink and gold. No phone in hand, constantly checking for emergency texts. No guilt about enjoying solitude. Later, I open the wooden box one last time, studying the old brass lock before storing it away permanently. Home isn't where you're born. I whisper to the empty room that feels more like home than any place before. It's where you're valued. I close the box with finality. Revenge burns fast, I murmur, thinking of the young man I'll soon help. Justice builds slowly and lasts longer.